and I have with me members of the Mormon Church here in Hamilton. We have the two elders that are the assigned missionaries for the community. Maybe you've seen them around town here in the last few weeks. They're going to introduce themselves shortly. And then we also have David. David is a first-year student here at Colgate. He is on the basketball team, but he just got back from serving his 2-year mission in Argentina. And so Elder Johnson and Elder Anderson, right, they do go by elder while they are on mission, so we'll refer to them as elder. David's no longer, he's always an elder, but we have to refer to him as an elder.
Perfect.
If I want to refer to you as an elder for your next 4 years, is that acceptable? Or maybe not.
Maybe not.
So while they're on mission, we do want to be respectful of their titles and callings. So we're just going to learn a little bit about this 2-year period. There's a lot of great things and interesting things we could discuss about the Mormon Church. We are going to focus on what does this 2-year community commitment look like. I think you're going to be surprised. They're your age, and the commitments they made are really quite profound. I will say we've had several groups ask, even before the Mormons came, if they could hand out curriculum or information or books. We've asked that none of the groups do that. This is not a time where there's proselytizing. It's just talking about their community. So if you were hoping to get a Book of Mormon today, they were not handing out that type of information. But again, it's just to learn about what can we learn from their lives together for 2 years. What does community look like, and what do they have to teach us? So I've gone over the questions with them already. I'm not surprising them or anything like that. And we'll look for, so first, can we just welcome our guests here today?
Thank you.
So the first question we agreed upon is tell us a little bit about your background, upbringing, and why don't we just start there? What made you decide to go on a 2-year mission?
All right. So I've actually grown up in the Mormon Church. We call it the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I was born into a family where my parents are active in the church, and they taught me the gospel all growing up. And I was baptized at 8 years old, and I really wanted to go on a mission my whole life. It is a volunteer thing, and so you can choose whether or not you want to serve a mission, but it's strongly encouraged for the men in the church, and for the women it's equally encouraged, but you don't have to do it if you don't want to. There was no defining moment where I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go on a mission. Woohoo! I kind of just always wanted to do it, and so it's something I worked towards my whole life, and here I am.
Awesome. I was also raised in the church. I think we all three were. And my story is kind of similar. My family was active. However, growing up when I was young, I always knew that it was probably something that I was going to do and that I kind of wanted to do. But a couple of years before I came out, I kind of struggled with that for a while. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to. I kind of questioned that a little bit. But I kind of came to the point where I figured, if I really wanted to see if it really was everything that the people around me were saying, I had to give it a try. I had to see what it was like in order to gain that relationship with God that I felt like I wanted. And so here I am.
Yeah.
I was also raised in Latter-day Saint family, Mormon family. It isn't always the case for missionaries. There's also lots of converts to the church that go on missions as well. But yeah, it's encouraged to go on a mission, so growing up I felt the same way. I saw my older sister went on a mission, I saw older friends go on missions, all of that, so I had lots of good examples, and I also wanted to do the same thing. I am kind of like Elder Anderson. It was getting close to the point to decide to go on a mission, and I wasn't too sure. But then I just felt I need to do it. I just felt a love for God and a love for Jesus Christ. So I wanted to, that love, those feelings that I have made me want to serve a mission. So I decided to.
And so just a couple of quick follow-up questions. It's usually right after high school? Is that the usual window?
So they have a time window that you normally would serve a mission. For the men in the church, it's ages 18 to about 25, I believe.
25 or 26.
25, 26. And usually they want us to start moving forward with life, get a career and a family and stuff like that. And so really that's when the men in the church, I believe with the women, they can go anytime after they turn 19. Okay. They can serve. With the women, they serve only a year and a half.
Okay.
But they can serve multiple missions if they'd like. But it's a little bit different. Not really, though. They're about the same.
Okay. And then, David, you were recruited to play basketball at Colgate, and so you committed to Colgate before you went on the mission, and they held your scholarship, and is that right?
Yeah, so I committed to come here in 2015, and then I just deferred my acceptance for 2 years. Then when I returned, I still had my acceptance hearing.
Yeah,
so.
good. Yeah, glad to hear. So when I knew you were coming, I did a little research and just about the training you go through, and I was like, wow, they must go through like what they do day to day. They must go through like a year's worth of training, but it's not. So tell us how long the training is. I know it's domestic is one, but then if you go into language school, it's a little longer. So if one of you tell us about what the training is like. Or?
Yeah. So for like native speaking languages, it's normally only about 3 weeks. That's how long I was there. That's how long he was there. For other languages, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so I went to Argentina. I had to learn Spanish. So I was there for 6 weeks. It's called the Missionary Training Center. If you have to learn Chinese or other languages, it could be up to 12 weeks in this.
Yeah.
So is that the longest? Like if it is that the longest would be 12 weeks if you're learning? Wow.
Yeah, I think it's usually about that time. I think they shortened it a little bit to about 9 weeks for the harder to learn languages. And so I actually just came out of the MTC, or the Missionary Training Center.
So this is your first,
this is my first area. We have several areas that we go to, and this is my first area that I've served in. And in the MTC, there's lots of different missionaries, people from all over the world that are going in several different places, learning several different languages. And there are actually multiple MTCs across the world. What was there, like 11?
15.
15.
Okay.
There's 15 missionary training centers across the world.
Great. And so just curious, for those that are going to, let's say, Japan or China or wherever they may be going, they're learning a language for that intensive 9-week. Are their responsibilities the same when they get there to go? Their job will be the same, like their language skills, regardless of what it's at. After 9 weeks, they're going door to door.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They do an extra hour of study in the morning to study the language, just to make sure that they're up to date and working on that every day. Okay. But they pretty much do the same thing.
Okay.
Was the goal to be able to do all that.
Wow. All right. So you did your 3 weeks. You did your 6 weeks. We're there for 2 years. You're there for 2 years. You're like a few weeks in. And Elder Anderson, how long have you been?
About 6 months.
About 6 months. And how often how long will you be here in Hamilton before you're transferred in? Are you transferred together, or how does that work?
Yeah. So it's never you're never really sure how long you're going to be in an area. They assign you to different areas. They normally give you like a week's or a couple days notice. Before you're going to move. And we're not transferred together normally. Normally one person stays in the area and then another one comes in, that one leaves, and then so forth. However, every now and then it's different. Like for instance, we came here together because, as you probably know, there were sister missionaries here before, and they were taken out, and so 2 elders were put in. But then from now on, it'll probably be the,
one at a time
system.
Yeah, the transfers is what they call them. They last 6 weeks, and so we just had a transfer where missionaries are moving from area to area. And so we'll be here for at least another 6 weeks, but we don't know if he'll leave, if I'll leave, if somebody else will come in. And so really it's just a matter of what the mission president feels like, who needs to be where and stuff like that. Okay. So he makes those assignments.
And were you able to select the country where you were serving? When you commit to the mission, are you able to choose where you serve? Or?
No, not really. We actually get a mission call that we can submit for. We say, hey, I want to serve a mission. You have a lot of work to fill out, and like physical things and medical things and stuff like that you have to do. And then you submit that to your local leaders, and then they submit that to the actual church in Salt Lake, where they look at it, and one of the church leaders, one of the 12 apostles is what we have, and they look at it and they pray about it, and then they assign an area or a mission, and we are in the New York Utica mission that covers most of upstate New York.
Okay.
And there's several missions across the world. I think, how many is there? I think we have the statistics. We could
Cool.
look at
And
it.
if, let's say, when David got hit, you got your thing Argentina, could you say, you know what? Sorry, I've changed my mind. Is that an option, or?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so everything's voluntary. So if you get your mission call, you can deny it. You can accept it. If at any point during the 2 years you want to go home, you have health problems, anxiety, you're allowed to return.
Okay. All right.
So we have 422 missions across the world, and they each have a mission president who presides over that mission, and they choose where those specific missionaries assigned to that mission area go and stuff.
Okay. Very cool. So, Elder Anderson, what does the day in life look like in Hamilton, New York, for you and Elder Johnson? Tell us what your day's like, or your week is like.
The schedule is pretty much the same across the board. We wake up at 6:30. We do a couple hours of study in the morning, and then the majority of our day consists of proselytizing activities. Sometimes you guys may know we go door to door. We contact people on the street. We sometimes go to members' homes and teach them. We try to set up appointments with people to teach them at a certain location. There's all kinds of activities that we do throughout the day, but that's what most of our day consists of. And then we normally try to be back in our apartment by 9:30 at the latest. That's pretty much our days.
Start at 6:30 with a couple hours of study, and then up until 9:30, it's everything of what you just described, whether it's door to door, whether it's on the street, whether it's a teaching in the home of a member of the church.
Yeah, we have an hour for dinner and a half hour for lunch. Besides that, and we try to do service as much as we can as well. Like we try to do at least or no more than 10 hours of service a week, and so that also takes up a large portion of our time as well.
So yeah, in this area we have we do a couple things at services, at food pantries, at local areas and stuff like that. And so you may see us at places serving there, and you can say hi there and stuff like that.
All right. Was your schedule similar, David?
Yeah, I did the exact same activities, but I was in a different culture, so my schedule was a little different, but it consists of all the same activities, just at different times. So yeah, all the same.
And another thing I was surprised about, communication with family. Tell us about that. Times you're able to do emails, stuff like that during this 2 years. What is that?
Yeah, so like we were saying, our schedule is pretty much the same every day, but on Mondays, that's called our preparation day. We take the majority of the day to take a little time off to prepare for the rest of the week. Do the chores around the apartment that we need to do. We take some time to email home. And what he was talking about is we're allowed on Mondays to email back home, but other than that, we call back home twice a month, or twice a year, and that's pretty much our only communication. We can write letters, but that's about as much communication as we
so as many letters as you have time for, but as far as email, 1 hour on Mondays, is that?
Yeah,
about
2
2
hours.
2 hours on Monday, and then 2 phone calls for the year.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else that will completely shock us in regards to? That's really anything else that's really challenging about this day-to-day lifestyle?
Well, we do have doors slammed in our face quite often. There is a lot of walking. It's not the easiest thing, I guess you could do, but I guess we know why we're here, right? We have a purpose, and we're here for a reason.
Yeah, I know we were talking about it earlier. I was just curious if they kept statistics on the number of people that don't want conversation, and they don't track those numbers at all. But does it get easier over time, Elder Anderson, or has the 3-week training and the 6-week training, David, did that prepare you well for the difficult moments going?
I feel like the training that we receive at the training center doesn't help very much with that aspect of it. We learn the materials that we need to be right on and things like that. I would say that there's a couple different aspects here. As time goes on, I guess you do get kind of used to it, and it gets easier in that sense. But most of all, I guess, kind of like I was saying, you really learn why you're here. You're not here to feel comfortable or anything like that. You're here to try to spread the message, and so I guess you just kind of learn that it doesn't really matter, when people swear at you or close doors or whatever.
Yeah.
So it gets easier in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys want to comment on that at all, or?
Yeah, you learn you learn a lot along the way. Obviously, you learn lots of patience. You learn how to work better with people as well. So on a mission, we develop lots of skills that help us for our whole lifetime. Communicating with others, taking failure, taking success. So lots of great life lessons are learned.
Yeah. For each of you, if you wouldn't mind responding, what would you say is the most challenging? We've just touched obviously 2 or 3 quick things, but that are very significant. But for each of you, would you say has been the most challenging? Which and then probably could become the most rewarding if you're growing through it, which I'm hearing in some of what you're saying. But what would you say has been the
most challenging? That's pretty tough. I'd say the most challenging part of the mission is the fact that it's every day, and so it's pushing through, a hardship, and you're walking around for hours and hours at a time, and you feel tired, and you just want to take a nap, but you don't want to because it's not what you're supposed to do, and so you kind of have to push through and work hard even when it is mentally taxing as well as physically taxing and spiritually taxing and every other taxing you can think of.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
For me, we have this purpose that we memorize as missionaries, and that's we invite others to come into Christ by helping them to receive the restored gospel. And so the reason we're out here is to try to help others. That's our goal. And so I guess the hardest thing for me is when we feel like we can help somebody and they simply don't want it. They refuse us. Just that not being able to do that good in somebody's life.
I agree. I agree with both of them, obviously. But yeah, it's really hard when you're doing something as best you can and to the best of your ability, and it's not turning out the way you hope for it to be. So lots of diligence, lots of persistence, and lots of faith. I'd say that was like the most challenging part for me, just being at your best all the time. But we're driven to do it, so and it's worth it. Once once things work out, once your purpose starts planning out, you start having success, it's all worth it.
Yeah, kind of along those lines. There's a lot of rules, and being, as perfect as you can. Obviously, none of us are perfect, and so following these rules can be really hard, especially if you see where you're coming short and you're not following the rule to the best of your ability. It can cause you to get down on yourself. You're like, why am I not as good as I want to be? And so that can be also pretty hard as well. So
I guess that's a question we can all ask ourselves, though, in any aspect of life.
yeah.
You mentioned some when we were chatting. What are some of the rules that you have to follow while you're in mission or as a Mormon that might be countercultural, be surprising to some?
Well, as a missionary, we have some basic rules, like with dress and grooming. Obviously, we look different than everybody else pretty much all the time. People notice that. So we're expected to look a certain way. We're supposed to be representatives of Jesus Christ, so we're expected to act a certain way. So there's certain things like that. There's certain rules regarding, like we mentioned before, the time of our day, when we leave, when we come back in, and things like that, meant to try to help us to stay on point. And then, as LDS members, we have a few other things as well. Like some of you may have heard of the word of wisdom. We believe that was revelation given to a modern day prophet to help us to keep our bodies healthy. And so we believe there's certain things that God has asked us not to partake of.
So that rule, the word of wisdom, we believe is a code of health that we follow, and so we don't smoke, we don't drink coffee, and so we avoid tobacco products and alcohol and other things kind of like that along those lines.
Is that just while you're an elder, or is that for the whole church?
It's for the whole church.
For the whole
yeah.
church.
Okay. So you've been around the Colgate community, you interact with Colgate students. Tell us what the experience has been encountering Colgate students. How have you felt? Has everyone kind? Has there been some challenging days with Colgate students? What's it like? Because I see you on Broad Street regularly, and I'm just curious what that experience has been like.
I don't think anybody's been mean ever. Like, it's actually been kind of nice, you know. Some people will just, you know, say, hi, I'm not interested, and move on. And other people will be genuinely interested, or they'll have a question. And so usually nobody's been ever mean to us, I don't think. Can you think of anybody?
No, all the students I've met here have
Yeah.
been really nice.
They're all pretty nice.
Oh,
So
well done.
congratulations.
Well, good. I'm glad that I'm serious. I'm glad you felt like. I'm glad this community's been. I'm glad the community's been kind to you. That's good. Well, that's fascinating. David, anything else you want to add on anything I've shared? I know you had the international experience, a little different. I don't know, or what's it like? And before I open it up to everyone, because I'm sure others have questions, what's it like post mission, and now coming back into the day-to-day life, and then coming to Colgate, and what you want to share with us?
It's a really big transition. It's a really big transition. Obviously, I don't have the same schedule as they do. I don't have to live certain standards that they have to live, so it's a big transition to come back. And, well, we take 2 years off of studying academically, so that's a big change. So I've been working to get my academics back.
And I think you told me you didn't play basketball at all for the 2 years, did you? Or
Yeah, so I didn't play basketball at all. We just focused ourselves on the mission.
was that a rule?
Not a rule. I was able
You were
to.
just so busy. Yeah.
I was able to take a few jump shots in Argentina.
Right.
I was able to play a little bit of soccer as well.
Okay.
We just focused ourselves on our purpose there.
Yeah.
So it's more of a decision to focus on the mission and leave behind other personal affairs.
Mhm.
So when we get back, you have to basically take our personal affairs back on, make our own lifelong decisions, right?
Yeah.
Start school.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
There's a lot of things that we don't really worry about as much as a missionary. The church handles a lot of our finances, but we also we have like cards that we have to use to buy groceries and gas, but that's pretty much all we pay for. The church pays for our apartments and stuff like that, but we still pay the church for that. So back home, they pay the church, and then we go from there. And
When you say back home, do you mean your family or
Yeah,
your
so-
local church?
so our families
Your family
pay for
do,
it.
okay.
So I actually paid for my mission mostly for myself.
Okay.
So I'd saved up over the years as I worked and as I, did odd jobs to earn money. I put away money for my mission specifically. But lots of people have their parents help pay,
Yeah.
and grandparents. I think my grandparents are helping pay for my mission.
Yeah.
And so there's like a monthly cost for the mission. And so we don't really worry a ton about money. We don't worry a ton about dating because we're not allowed to do that. And so once you go home, you get back into the world of doing normal things. And so being on the mission, there's a lot of rules that just they kind of take you out of real life.
Yeah.
And so it kind of can make it interesting.
Right. Well, thank you. Well, fascinating. Thank you so much. I'm sure maybe others have questions. Olivia, yes.
Do you use social media?
We do use some social media. For example, we are on Facebook, and we use that as a way to contact people, to send spiritual thoughts, to connect for appointments and things like that. It's the only one that I can think of that
I
we
don't
use.
think we do any other social media because it can take up time. And our purpose as missionaries is to invite people to come unto Christ. So whenever we do get on Facebook, it's for that purpose. We don't get on there to just, look up random cat videos or anything. So we actually get on to try and help people come closer to Christ or, stuff like that.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. John.
How large an area do you cover? Because I can imagine you can only walk up and down streets of Hamilton so many times.
Yeah. So we cover a little bit more than that. We go up to Casanova and Nelson. We go out to...
Do you walk there?
No,
We actually have a car. Yeah.
We have a car. That's an important thing to mention.
We do have a car, but we have a mile allotment, so we're
Yeah.
only allowed to drive a certain number of miles.
Oh.
And so
Yeah.
you were saying the
We
area.
go up to Waterville, Brookfield, West Edmiston, Georgetown, a little past Earlville. So that kind of, I think
And that's
that
just
covers our area.
that's just us two.
Yeah.
And then there's other missionaries in the New York Utica mission, which covers the good majority rest of New York upstate. So
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Michael.
So a couple questions for you guys. Where are you guys like centralized? Like here in the Utica, New York mission, right? Like where's kind of like home base for you? And then also another question is like just kind of like about you guys too. Like where's the nearest Mormon temple here, kind of in upstate New York? Then also where are you guys from yourselves?
all right. So we'll start a little bit backwards. I'm from Utah, and I'll let you say where you're from.
I'm from Star Valley, Wyoming.
Yeah. So our closest temple is that
I think that's Palmyra, New
I think
York.
it's the Palmyra Temple. We have a temple there, and we have another one in New York. And I think we have one in New York, and
I'm not sure.
there's one more. I can't remember. I think it starts with an H. I'm not super familiar with the city names and stuff.
The closest one to here is Palmyra, New York, though.
Yeah, closest one here is Palmyra. What was the other question?
Just for you guys, like where are you guys kind of like based out of?
Okay.
Where are you living?
Yeah, so we're living here in Hamilton, and that's why we are in the Hamilton area. But the mission itself, we have our mission president who we turn to for leadership, and he is in Utica. So that's why it's called the Utica mission, because that's the middle.
Yeah.
So.
For instance, like he was talking about transfers before, when we change areas, we normally go to Utica and we kind of all meet together, have a little meeting, and then we go back out from there. So I think if that answers your question, that's kind of where we're based out of. Yeah.
How do you?
I also have a couple of questions. When you're going door to door and you do have the chance to have a conversation with someone, and that someone is a certain denomination of Christian, how does that change the conversation? Especially if that person is devout in that denomination. And then the other question is for you, David. How are you, because I know many first years when they come in are sort of like, I've never had to schedule my own time before and have difficulty getting used to that, but given that you were living to such a strict schedule, how do you think that's helped you or hindered you in adjusting to the college environment?
Should we go first?
Sure.
So are you meaning like when we knock on a door and we're like, hey, can we share a message? And they're like, I'm sorry, I'm Catholic or whatever. Like, how does that change it? Well,
Or if they're like, sure, you can share, but just so you know, I'm Catholic.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with our purpose, inviting others to come into Christ, we're not. Our goal as missionaries isn't to try to tear down anybody's faith in any specific thing. What we're trying to do is to build faith in any way that we can. And so, we're not necessarily there to say, hey, your belief is wrong, and you need to believe what we believe. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is to simply build that faith in Jesus Christ, because he's completely central to everything that we believe. So that's what we hope to do.
And we do kind of, we believe in a restoration of truth, so we believe that there are prophets today, and that's really what our message is about. We try and help people realize that there are prophets in the Bible, and we believe that those prophets, they have continued. God has called another prophet today, and that's why we go around and share it with everyone, regardless of whether or not they've already accepted Christ. So.
And for me, yeah, I think I am a lot more prepared than most college freshmen, for sure. I've already lived 2 years away from home in another country, speaking a different language. I've had to learn to adapt and overcome lots of different things already. So it's been, I'd say my schedule, like my lifestyle here is a lot easier than it was on the mission. I can take a nap when I need it.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I feel a lot more prepared. I haven't felt like I've had to adjust to college at all. So, yeah.
I have one question for you and one for you.
do you, post-mission, now that you're in college, do you still kind of carry some of that work with you as not a missionary, but as just a regular person practicing your faith? Do you kind of continue that on with people that you encounter?
Yeah, absolutely. If someone asks me a question, I'll answer it. Yeah, I can still serve, help, teach other people. I'm just not devoted to it 24/7, like they are, obviously. We get other assignments in the church. So right now I have an assignment in the local church here. So my skills that I developed as a missionary, I'm better able to help out in other areas of the church. So that's really nice. What was your other?
So I was going to ask, I mean, I guess maybe everybody in general, but you're saying that there's no time for dating as a missionary, but post-mission, is it then expected, like, you are expected to marry someone in the same faith? What are the expectations, or?
So it's not really expected, but they encourage it a lot to marry within the faith, because we do have in the temples, we believe that you can be sealed forever with your spouse, and so we try and keep marriages within the faith so that they can go to the temple, because that's something that we keep within the religion, kind of.
So if you marry someone that's not Mormon, that your partner wouldn't be allowed to be in the temple, come to the church, but not the temple. There's certain aspects they couldn't participate in.
We believe anybody could come to our churches and worship with us if they wanted to. But in order to go to the temple, they have to be baptized, and they have to prove that they've been living the standards that are required for that. So
very insightful. Yeah. Other questions?
I was just going to ask David about basketball. So, away from 2 years, you get to shoot a few jump shots here and there. That's not training. I mean, so did you find that acclimation to be difficult, or?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult, especially because high school basketball and college basketball are a lot different as well. I lost 15 pounds in Argentina, so I've been getting weight back.
And where were you from?
I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an adjustment for sure.
Yeah. And you find it last night. You're doing all right with it, though?
Thank you.
You're doing all right with it, though? You feel like you've gotten back into shape?
I feel a lot better. So I've been back 6 months. I've gained 10 pounds back. I feel a lot better.
Excellent.
I'm working out a lot, so.
You're about to start the season, so.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I was just curious about the differences in the missions of men and women. Like, why are they structured differently?
Well, yeah, so men's in the church, they believe it's how would I say that?
It's kind of a duty.
Yeah,
we're not
it's a duty.
we're not required to. That's the word. We're not required to serve a mission. There's no penalty for not. But it's encouraged. It's taught that once we know the gospel, it's expected to go and share it with others. So
yeah, we in no way believe that men are better than women or women are better than men. We just believe that their roles are a little bit different, and so men in the church are kind of asked to serve missions, and women, if they want to, are encouraged to. So with men, it's a duty. With women, it's just added blessings, kind of.
And you refer to them as they wouldn't have elder title. They'd have sister.
They'd have sister.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yep. Liz, go ahead, Liz.
I was wondering, since there have been either elders or sisters here for a number of years, do you share information with people who were here before so that you can learn about the area before you start?
Yeah, so normally that's why the system of having one person come in and then another one leaves one at a time is great, because then the one who knows the area can be like, hey, this place is a great place to go shopping, things like that. And we do, we keep information, like we share a phone. We keep information so that we can contact people. We keep records like that of what we've taught people, so we know what else needs to be taught and things like that.
There's a lot to remember, and so we write a lot of stuff down. and we just leave the stuff that we've written down for the next people to come in, and they can go over the notes and stuff like that. So.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Dina? I just want to make sure everyone that anyone else not ask one that wanted to ask one? Yeah, Father.
Just a question about, I heard like you started the day with like study, which I think is brilliant. But like any tradition of like personal prayer as part of the day? Like,
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Will you say that one more time? Just so I'm
Yeah,
clear.
like what is there a tradition for personal prayer as part of that schedule, or like?
Yeah. So we wake up and we say a personal prayer, and then we, as missionaries, we say a lot of prayers throughout the day.
Lots.
we
Many
pray.
prayers.
We pray before our personal study. We study alone first, and then we pray before we study together. And we pray before each meal. We pray when we're trying to decide what we share with people. We pray for help to know what we're supposed to share. We pray for help to know where we're supposed to go, what we're supposed to say.
And we
we're
pray
supposed
when
to
we
see.
get back. And we pray right before bed, and so there's lots of prayer. There's plenty of prayer.
Well, let's pray. And no.
Before we move on, let's say a prayer.
I did appreciate. I prayed for the first time with not for the first time. I prayed with Mormons. I prayed with Mormons for the first time just a few minutes ago, and I learned that. And Elder Anderson was so kind. He explained how they do it, and that you have your arms folded in prayer.
Mm-hmm. It's not required. I mean, just it's a sign of reverence to bow your head and fold your hands, your arms, whatever.
Fold your hands, yeah. So I appreciated learning that, and it will circle on to those that want to have another question, but we want to make sure those that didn't have Mark.
So, presumably, as you're walking around, you pick up that some people are, let's say, more open. Some people just want to argue, like they'd love to have you come back and argue for hours or whatever. Some people clearly don't want to have anything to do with learning about your teaching theology or whatever, but they sure could use help, say, an older woman whose snow isn't shoveled or whatever. So I guess as you're kind of doing sort of mental triage about your day, right, how do you go about making the decisions about where to invest your time in any given day?
Well, we have a couple things we try to do. Like we call going door to door tracting, right? So we try to tract for at least an hour a day, and we fit that around appointments. We try to fit as many appointments as we can into a day.
Okay.
Like I said before,
Can I just pause right? So tracting, and then you try to make an appointment from that. Is that how the appointments come?
Yeah,
they absolutely
often
can.
Okay, so I didn't mean to interrupt. I just
no,
that's okay.
You're good. And then, like I said, we try to do about 10 hours of service a week, and some of those are set, so we already know that time is going to be filled. Some of them we try to find people either from tracting, from contact people on the street. One of our, at least my common things is, hey, can we share the gospel? And the second one is we also try to offer service wherever we can. So that's always something we try to do as well.
Yeah, so when people usually are like, I'm not interested, well, we're also offering service. Do you know anybody that needs help, or do you need help, or something like that? And so we do help people who need like their snow shoveled or something like that as well.
But as for where we put things, we kind of make appointments a priority. So we when we have people who actually want to meet with us, we make sure that they're set, and then we kind of fill the time with other contacting things that we do. Does that make sense?
And we approach it a lot with prayer, so there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
So you were at my house recently. I don't
Yeah.
know if you remember, but
That's
the
Rabbi
volunteer
Bodie.
fire alarm went
Yeah.
off.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
And I don't know if you remember, but I said, well, do you want a glass of water? Do you want to use our bathroom? What do you wish when you knocked on people's doors? What do you wish they knew? What do you wish they would offer?
Well, I guess our first wish would be that we want them to talk with us, right, about what we believe. But I guess we just always kind of have that hope that just like you did, even if they're not interested, that they'd just say thank you, I'm not interested. And we really appreciated actually that you offered that water.
That was nice.
We normally would take something like that up. It just happened to be at the time that we didn't need that. But we do appreciate that kind of thing wherever it comes from. So yeah.
Any other questions? Then I'll circle. Someone had two questions. All right, Olivia, back to you.
Well, I guess you kind of started to answer this with like how you make appointments, but I was just wondering like if you go to someone's door and they're like, yeah, okay, like I want to be Mormon, like what do you do? Like how do you?
If somebody answered the door like that, I'd be so happy.
You probably wouldn't know what to say. So, normally people would say something like, you know, yeah, I'd be okay with you coming back and sharing a little more. Normally we try right then to share a little bit about what we believe, and then we just say, okay, well, what times normally work for you? When could we come back and see you? You know, if you don't want to meet here, where's a good place to meet? You know, something like that. So we just try to set an appointment, and we have kind of lessons that we teach in an order. It can be changed, but we do have set things that we teach people before they're baptized. So
baptism would be like that moment that they like join the church.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, good. And any other? Yes, release.
On a similar line, is there a report back to sort of the leader in Utica, and do you have some goals of what the success of your time for that week or day is?
Kind of, I think.
Yeah.
He gives us what he calls standards of excellency, I think is what it's called.
I think so.
Anyway, you know, he says try to aim for this amount of these things. Obviously, we're not failing if we don't meet those, because every situation is different. But you know, that's kind of just what we try to shoot for. You know, this many people contacted, and this amount of time spent in service, things like that. So
there's a lot of stuff that we do report back, and so like say somebody was baptized, then they'll want to know who it was and get the records and stuff like that, and there's a lot of paperwork involved, and so we do have to send that in to the church itself and to our leaders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maria.
So when you're going through that cultural training, how much of that is language and how much of that is different cultural differences? Because for instance, in Japan it's rude to eat on the street, but we would consider it normal. Or how much of that is spent making sure that you're being respectful of the culture you're going into?
David, answer that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
So they don't talk very much about culture. You basically learn the culture when you get there. They do. The second you get there, they teach you completely in that language. So they teach you how to be a missionary in that language, and also you have language lessons. While I was in the training center, I was in a classroom for about 10 hours a day. It was all in Spanish. I had to learn it. So you basically learn the culture when you get there. That's why we always preach the gospel in two. We get there with someone more experienced, and they normally teach us the culture when we get there.
So kind of what he's talking about there is the newer missionary, which is me, has a trainer who teaches them the ropes. So
how's that going?
He's great.
I'm sure there are others, but just want to make sure. And they're willing to stay. Mm-hmm. We'll dismiss here in about 2 minutes if we have one more question. And I think Mark's ready to go.
So what if everybody follows the rules and they're just kind of terrible at it? I mean, like they're just not, whatever. They clam up, they're awkward, they're whatever. What happens? Like, is there a way of kind of evaluating an improvement on the job? Is it a matter of just kind of bearing with someone who's not real good at it, or do we sort of have an assumption that God is somehow in that, even with somebody not doing great?
You mean like with our companion, like if he gets all clammy and stuff like that? Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Or, yeah. Right. So you're basically following the rules, but you just feel like you're
doesn't do well.
Like, right. So what? So I guess I'm asking sort of about evaluation, correction.
Okay.
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do believe that God knows what's going on. And we believe we're here for a reason. So we do believe he has a big hand in what we do. And so we kind of have that assumption that as long as we're trying our best, wherever that is for us, that we will be helped and that we'll be able to do everything he asks us to do. However, after everything we do, pretty much we do take a moment and we're like, okay, what could we have done better? How could we explain that a little bit better? How could we have spent our time a little more efficiently? So there's kind of all sides to that. You know, we do believe that we're having divine help, as well as we do our best to help ourselves as well.
Yeah, missionary life is super stressful, and for some people it can be really bad. They'll get like anxiety and they'll freak out, and that does happen. And so usually they ask us to take a couple minutes to take a breather, and they allow us to be able to calm down and stuff like that. And they don't want us to hurt ourselves or anything like that. So yeah.
Well, they're willing to stay around for a few more moments. I can't thank you enough for coming. When I first met with the president, the local president, the local church thought it was a great idea, but said we don't want to force any of our elders or sisters to come. And I don't know if you know, this is an intimidating space to come up the hill, to come to Colgate, call it, open-ended questions. Who knows what's coming? So thank you so much. Can we thank them for being willing to do that? Thank you. So they're going to stay for a little bit, and feel free to continue conversation. Thanks for coming.